So you want to be OP? Well, I am here to help. This time we are playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And one of the things that I think that you can do very early on in the game to kind of get yourself set up and to make yourself a little bit overpowered very early on is by farming the hidden Gestural Arena. This is available immediately after you complete the Flying Waters. There are 4 fights here and a total of 5 Pictos. They're all generally oriented towards characters fighting alone, but there are. It's not just here in the hidden gestural arena that these are useful, right? There are many times in the game where you need to fight, and especially gestural merchants, where you have to duel them essentially to get better rewards or other inventory. So. This isn't the only time you'll certainly be using these. Also, if you'd like to challenge yourself like I do, I often do a lot of the fights solo, so these Pictos can be very, very helpful. But the first fight there is Matthew, the Colossus. He's very, very easy. Basically just has single parry attacks, and that's going to get you the Last Stand critical Pictos. Very good. Again, 100% crit rate when you're fighting alone. So that definitely opens up some other options in terms of Pictos. If you're like I do, I actually focus very heavily on crit boosting Pictos, but with Last Stand critical, you don't need to worry about that, right? You'll always have the 100% crit rate while you're fighting alone. Next up is Bertrand Big Hands. Another very easy fight here. He basically only has 2 moves, one where he does this like spinning punch, and then the second one is where he does some sort of kick. I should say I do like to, or prefer to, fight with Nael for these, mostly because her virtuous stance is 200% damage. Getting into that can be a little bit annoying early on in the game with a very limited weapon selection here. I only had the Brule Rum at this time, but still actually honestly fairly easy to get into virtuous stance though. For one thing, this thing when you counter, it puts burn stacks on, and then of course you can use Swift Stride to get into virtuous. But the second reward there is Accelerating Last Stand. That one I don't find as useful as like Last Stand critical, but it can be very good, and especially I would argue for the final battle versus Julian Tiny Head, because Julian is actually pretty quick. So again, that can come in handy there with the of course it gives you rush while you're fighting alone. So next up here is Dominique Giant Feet. This one is probably honestly the easiest of all 4 of the Gestrals here, because his attacks are just so telegraphed. Basically it's just 2 punches, one where he does like he tries to kind of like pound the ground with both of his fists, and the other one where he kind of winds up and just uses, I think it's like his right arm. But again, very easy parries, so very easy to counter this guy. Reward here for this one, I think, is the one that gives Shell for fighting alone. I don't remember exactly it's probably like Protecting Last Stand or something like that would be my guess. I think probably of all of the rewards here, I think that one's the one that I like the least, but mostly because if you're pairing everything, you don't really need Shell. But that said, the final fight, and especially early on with Julian, can take a very long time. And so, of course, your chances of missing a parry or failing a parry goes up. So that Shell buff actually is very nice. But here it looks like we're getting him to die to burn, which is always nice to see. But yeah, anyways, there is the Protecting Last Stand. So it says gain Shell fighting alone. Again, I think of the 5 rewards here, I like this one the least, but it can be very nice, again, if you're either not very good at parrying, but again, every once in a while you'll just get that that stray hit that you'll miss. But again, last one here is Julian Tiny Head. Now, unfortunately here, Julian's a little bit more difficult. He's got a much wider range of attacks. I think it's like 3 of his attacks will be single target. I know he has a 2-strike. And I know he's at least got 1 3-strike combo as well. So again, a wider range. I think honestly his toughest one is actually a single strike parry, but he kind of starts to swing with is it his right hand, and then he actually swings with the left, so he kind of like tries to fake you out. Unfortunately, I didn't get footage of that, but if you spend any amount of time here with Julian, you'll definitely see that at one point or another. So, yeah, here's the 1-2, and then there's the third strike. That one's pretty easy, you know. Honestly, I think of all of his attacks, most of them are fairly well telegraphed, especially that one right there, right where he jumps up in the air. That one's really easy to parry. Even again, some of his multi-strike ones are fairly easy to get the timings on. It's just that one where, you know, he tries to fake you out a little bit that can be a little bit tricky. But the rewards for this are going to be Solo Fighter, which is really, really good. That one is, it adds a 50% to your damage when you're fighting alone. So also very cheap. I think that only is 1 Lumina point once you actually do learn that from that Pictos. So that's very, very nice. And then the other one is, it's like powerful on last chance or something like that. Well, we'll see here. The Pictos will be coming up. But basically it gives you powerful when you're fighting alone, which is very, very good, again, for these kind of duels. They're getting a ton of levels, too, by winning these duels for the first time. Alright, let's see here. So there's Solo Fighter. And then the final reward should be coming up here as well. Empowering Last Stand. There you go. So gain powerful of fighting alone. Again, very, very good. That powerful buff is really good. And of course, I think they'll last, or it should last about 3 turns for you when you're doing these fights solo. So again, I spend a lot of time here early on, put on a lot of levels, and that can really help get you set up for some of the other areas in the game. All right, so my next recommendation is within the Gestural Village, you've got the 4 arena fights. And you want to choose Mael for the final fight versus CL. Basically, there's 4 different rewards here, 1 for each character, right? So it's Gustav Lune and Mael. But there's actually a 4th option, which is by letting CL win, right? So basically throwing the fight to her. You'll get a weapon for her instead. But I think that Mael's is by far the best and the only one really worth getting here. All right, so here's the Medallum. Again, that's the reward for winning in the Gestural Arena. It starts at level 5, and the level 4 bonus is Start in Virtuous Stance. This is very, very good. Probably already obvious why that's so good, but the nice thing is about that and starting in Virtuous is, your first 2 turns don't need to basically be spent getting to Virtuous. So typically you'd have to do something like a Spark first to get Burn on, and then a Swift Stride, right? That would get you there. All right, so I just wanted to toss in a little footage here of what it's like farming with the Medallum and the specific build that I've got. It's essentially a 2-turn kill. First turn we're taking is just using Mezzo Forte, so that's obviously keeping her in Virtuous Stance, but giving her basically refilling the rest of her AP. There's the 1 parry that I have to do, and then we're using Sword Ballet, and that ends it, right? So that's a 19-second. All right, so I'll toss in my recommendations here for her build as well, at least, for farming the arena and early on. You start out with Per Se and Swift Stride, right? So she'll already have these 2 abilities, same with Offensive Switch and Spark. But what you need to do here is go for Guard Up, and then you need to buy or get Fleuret Fury. Once you've got Fleuret Fury, then I would recommend going over here and getting Degagement, so that you can get to Mezzo Forte. And then once you've got Mezzo Forte, then work your way over here to the right, get Breaking Rules, Fencer's Flurry, and then end with Sword Ballet. You can see here Mael is at 41. She's got 8 skill points available, which means that this build is fully done, or basically we've got everything we need at level 33. So, unfortunately, before you get Sword Ballet, you're going to be using Fleuret Fury. So basically, you're really just using Fleuret Fury whenever you've got the AP for it. And then when you don't have enough AP, you're using Mezzo Forte so that you can stay in Virtuous, and it'll give you, obviously, their 2 to 4 AP. So again, very, very easy build, and, a really, really good way to not only level, but get a ton of cash early in the game. Alright, so my next recommendation is here in the Redwoods. Keep in mind that you need to have 90,000 chroma in order to actually do this, but it results in a really, really good and strong Pictos for this point in the game. So all you do here is walk up to the fountain here and pour in chroma. Listen to this guy's nonsense.
What is this?
All right, and so the first one is 5,000. The next one is 10,000.
Cryptic.
Oops. And next is 25K.
Story dispenser.
All right, then it's 50. I should say, lastly, it's 50. And there it is, the recovery Pictos.
What now?
2,000 health and 324 defense. And then I think it does a, let me just see here. Yeah, 10% health on turn start. You can see here, my L is kind of gigantic already. She's at 823 health, but obviously this would more than double her HP. And then a pretty significant defense increase as well. The other added bonus to this is with that much health, that 10% health on turn start is obviously even better, right? As long as you are equipped with the recovery Pictos. So, 823, she'd be getting 82 health per turn, with her base health. But obviously at 2,823, we'd be getting 283 health on turn start. And again, at this point in the game, this is pretty gigantic. I would actually kind of recommend putting that on Lune instead, though, right? Because Lune is a pretty good healer. And kind of, if your healer's sort of immortal, you're going to be set up even better. And also specifically here, if you have got the different healing bit, right? So like healing light, rebirth, though, right? So like her being more or less immortal, maybe not so much on expert, right? Because expert, it's pretty easy to get one shot, but your character that is able to revive others during battle, being so beefy would be a huge advantage. So definitely going to recommend throwing that on her. And again, a huge Pictos for this point in the game. But again, it does take the 90,000 chroma. So, and I think that the best way to farm that all is at the Gestural Arena. But it takes a significant amount of time to farm all that. So I guess keep that in mind. All right, so my next recommendation here is actually at the very start of Act 2, you can enter the Dark Shores area. Now, it's a very much higher level and definitely, I think, intended to come here later on in the game. But we actually don't have to fight the Noir enemies here if you don't want to, and I would recommend not fighting them, at least until you've gone into the Forgotten Battlefield and got the Gradient counter tutorial. But what you can do here is get one of the enemies or both of them to follow you, and then just kind of run them around in a circle and grab the Pictos from where they were standing. Again, I think that in Medias Res is probably the best defensive Pictos in the entire game. It gives you 3 shields at the battle, or when the battle starts, which again is basically just 3 free hits, right? So I really like this Pictos. Again, I think it's probably the best defensive one in the entire game. All right, so being that we're here, the next thing that I think that you can do if you really want to make yourself overpowered is to take down the Noir enemies. For multiple reasons. For one thing, these things are just worth a ton of experience. So this is just the battle with 2 of them. 780k experience, obviously with the 20% bonus for no damage. But the big thing here actually is the Corpesso. Let's just take a look at this weapon. Extremely powerful for this point in the game. Obviously not even close to anything else that we've been able to get so far. Verlesso is the only thing that even comes near it in terms of raw power. But this thing at level 23 is 1,935 power. Obviously already over level 20, so it's got all of its bonuses as well. So this thing can really set you up. Really, the only thing that you need to do here, if you actually want to take these things down, is you really need to go into the Forgotten Battlefield and watch the first scene. That is what teaches you the gradient counter. I suppose maybe you could do this battle without that, but I don't think that that's a good idea. And you're definitely going to, probably die a few times. So I don't think that that's smart. I think it's better to just go into Forgotten Battlefield and see that tutorial. But yeah, like I said, the Corpesso is absolutely insane for this point in the game. So yet another way to really power it. And I should say, when I played on Expert through Expert the last time, basically Verso was taking out entire groups of enemies just with free aim shots with this thing, again, because it's just so strong. Definitely something that I would recommend doing if you can. Of course, it takes a lot of countering to take down the Noir enemies at this point in the game, but it 100% can be done. Alright, so the last thing you can do here to become really overpowered early on in the game, and I should say this is basically at the beginning of Act 2, is actually to take out Sprong and get the cheater Pictos. Now, I will be completely honest, this is an extremely difficult fight to be doing in Act 2. It's significantly easier to do it once you're in Act 3 and have broken the damage cap, but again, this is all about doing things early on and becoming overpowered as a result. And again, certainly taking Sprong out in Act 2 is a feat, but also, again, you do get the cheater Pictos, which is basically going to completely break the game for you. You can see there it says play twice in a row. So anytime that a character gets a turn, they get a second turn immediately after. It's probably obvious why that's such a huge advantage, but this is the results of the Sprong fight. I'll go over really quick just how I did that, but again, I think that this one, and I should say this is the most difficult of all of kind of my recommendations here. Alright, so let's go over the builds here for each of these characters. So I've got Lune with the Kralum at level 16. Again, mostly this is for the on-turn start if no stains, 2 random stains are generated. That's the level 10 bonus. But also it's, honestly, of all of the 3 characters, she needs the most help in terms of her weapon. Verso has the Corpesso, and Mayal has the Jarum. And these two are just have a really easy time hitting the damage cap, whereas Lune does not. Lune, again, needs as much help from her weapon as you can. I suppose you could do, like if you've been building Might or something, maybe it's easier to hit the damage cap, but I always go Lock Agility, so unfortunately I'm really not getting any help from, obviously, the Might. But again, that is the weapon that I used on her. As far as the Pictos go, I've got Powerful Revive, First Strike, and Confident. Mostly these Pictos are just being used for their stats. For Verso, again, he's got the Corpesso. So, again, earlier on in the video, I did recommend taking out the Noir enemies, and obviously that is the reward for beating the Noirs. I did bring this up to level 25, though, so that would mean that I had to kill the Noirs, like, maybe 2 or 3 times to get Catalyst in order to bring that up. I don't think that's important, though. You can definitely do this very easily. Well, not very easily, but you can do this with just a level 23 Corpesso, right? You don't have to farm Noir or the Noir enemies extra and upgrade this thing. I don't think that that's necessary. But anyways, as far as Pictos, again, just for the stats here, breaking shots, dead energy 1, and breaking counter. You can see here, actually, I've got Lune at a 75% crit rate. Verso's at 78, and then Mayal here is at 75. Of course, the Jarum, that's the base level Jarum, completely unupgraded from when we beat the Chromatic Jar. She's got the first offensive Pictos, the Death Bomb, excuse me, and then Perilous Parry. Let's take a look at Lumina's. Most of these characters most of the three of them are pretty similar, but Luna is very special only because she's kind of got a lot of the first strike stuff, and then I've got like augmented attack. This is not needed though. Augmented attack, augmented first strike. You don't really need these because you're just not getting much damage out of those. Same with exposing attack. I think I only use her base attack once, and that's the very first turn. And I do that in kind of specific ways to kind of line up some of the abilities. But anyways, those are not important. So let's go over the ones that actually are, though. So augmented counter, critical burn. This is huge, right? 25% increased critical chance on burning enemies. That gets her to the, obviously 100%, right? And it's Mael and the Jarum applying the burn stacks for me. I basically just parry everything, and so by pairing with the Jarum, you're putting burn stacks on the enemy. Let's go back into this here. Confident, that's just coming from the Pictos. That's not important at all. Energizing start 1, 2, and 3. These actually aren't as important for Lune because I only do a basic attack for the first turn, but these are much more important for the other two characters. Again, exposing attack, you don't need this, but I just throw it on there because, again, on her first turn, she's using a basic attack. And then first offensive in medias res, this is phenomenal. The last time I did this, that's the strong fight there that I just did, I actually took one laser. So I could have beat it without this, but man, you just have really no wiggle room, right, for air. So I would say that in medias res is very, very good for this fight. Perilous parry, that might be obvious, but you really need this, right? Because you're going to be parrying everything and thus getting more AP because of it. Powerful revive, that's just coming from the Pictos. Again, that's not needed at all. And then teamwork is good, right? Extra 10% damage. Verso is, again, set up essentially the same way, except he's using a little bit less because I'm not doing anything with basic attacks. So it's augmented counter, critical burn, energizing start 1, 2, and 3 in medias res, and then perilous parry and teamwork. That's it. Same with Mael. She should be set up the same way. Augmented counter, critical burn, the 3 energizing starts in medias res, perilous parry. Actually, she's getting that from the Pictos, though. And then teamwork. So those are the only ones that you really need. But that is... let's go over the skills here really quick, though, too. So Lune's got the most complicated skill set. I've got Crippling Tsunami, Wildfire, Storm Caller, and then Elemental Trick. That's for if you get basically 2 of the same elemental stains at the start of your turn. Basically, that fixes her, the issue there. And then, of course, the Elemental Genesis. I don't use Thermal Transfer at all during the Sprung fight, but those are the 5 abilities that I use. So you're basically just rotating, based on whatever, elemental stain that you get at the beginning of the turn. So, like, if you get a fire and, let's say, a light stain, then you need to use Crippling Tsunami, because that'll get you 1 more light stain, and then, like, an ice stain, and that'll let you use Elemental Genesis the following turn. So, and that's basically how her turns all play out. It's just, okay, what stains do I have? What stains do I need in order to use Elemental Genesis for the following turn? And that's it. There's really nothing more complicated about it. I try to prioritize Stormcaller because this adds so much damage to Verso and Mael, but that doesn't always work out, right? And we just kind of gotta go with something else. Also, then I would say my second priority for skills would be Crippling Tsunami to keep him slowed. And then Wildfire is only if I have to, right? If I have no other choice and I have to get a fire stain or another light stain, then I'll use Wildfire. But all right, so that is Lune. Verso is basically only using Steeled Strike the entire time. He doesn't use actually literally anything else. The last fight that I did with him, he just used Steel Strike the entire time, and that's it. And that's the nice thing about the energizing starts. Is he can use Steeled Strike basically immediately because Sprung takes actually a turn first. Everybody parries, his big slam, and then boom, Verso is right into using Steeled Strike. Mael has Offensive Switch, Spark, Swift Stride, Mezzo Forte, Sword Ballet, and Flurry Fury. Most of the time, I would say 9 out of 10 turns, she's going to be able to use Sword Ballet. Once or twice, she'll have to use Flurry Fury because she doesn't have enough AP because of gaps in Sprung's attacks. And then every once in a while, there's also a turn where she's got only like 1 or 2 AP, and so I'll use an offensive switch. But that's pretty much it. I never used Mezzo Forte for that fight. Yeah, so that is pretty much it for the build. But yeah, anyways, that's going to be it for this one. As always, I hope these tips and tricks were helpful. And as usual, thank you for watching.